Hey guys, we are back once again with another chapter review of Katekyo Hitman REBORN, and we are at chapter 133. And the chapter starts off pretty rough, but by the end you guys might be surprised of what it entails. So as we know, basically the fight between Suna and Zanzis has actually come to an end, right? Suna from chapter 132 managed to freeze Zanzis once again in the 0-point breakthrough technique, but his version is the revised version, right? So come to find out, as I stated from the last chapter review, technically we come to find out in this chapter Zanzis was already frozen, hence why all of that talk about Suna, he's not doing the technique right, what do you know about this technique? It's because he himself was the one that was frozen, okay? And so to get to that point, again, the chapter starts off where he is completely frozen in ice, and this ice is different than any other regular ice. Even dry ice is different than that, because this ice cannot be melted by any regular means, not by the sun, not by running hot water on it, not letting it just melt by itself. It cannot melt by regular methods, right? Because how the ice was constructed, it's because it was compressed, as Reborn has stated, by negative compressed energy. Again, Suna had to go, he goes through 3 components in the hyperdying will mode in order to achieve the 0-point breakthrough revised technique. He starts off on base, which is the 0 state. Then he goes into the positive state, aka hyperdying will, and negative state is anywhere between positive and neutral or 0 state, where he dies momentarily and then he goes right back instantly into the positive state. So during that negative state is where he can use basically the 0-point breakthrough by using that particular energy before he goes back into the positive state. I hope I'm making a whole lot of sense. Okay, so by him understanding that he can actually use this particular technique anytime from now on, and I'll just put it out here, he does use it in the future, okay, in future chapters. So understanding that, now we all have that moment of, in the chapter where, like, because Suna was able to pull off this move and nothing anyone can do can, you know, get Zanzis out of that ice, Suna basically won. He expended all of his energy because my boy is panting, he is exhausted, he used up all of his energy to utilize this technique and use it on Zanzis. So my boy is completely exhausted, which is understandable. This was a very difficult and hard fight against a very experienced fighter who is also an assassin of the Vongola, but has an agenda against the Vongola organization, which he is part of, right? Performing the coup d'etat. Not only that, we actually got information about the cradle incident that had been mentioned several chapters ago, and now they finally went into depth, or more so showed us a flashback of what happened on that particular day of the cradle incident that led Zanzis to continue what he's doing now, 8 years, 9 years in the current storyline. So now we have where Reborn is talking about the cradle affair, and well, not him, but he's talking about that. Then we had Dino, that's because remember Squallow came. Squallow did not actually die. He just had a lot of surgery after his fight with Yamamoto. We have where Dino is now telling Squallow that, hey, now you gotta fess up about this whole incident that happened 8 years prior, and how it led Zanzis into the state that he's currently in, aka all the scars on his body. So all Squallow did was just tell them that, like, he was frozen quite literally by the 9th. I know probably it might be obvious to some of you, but for others you're wondering, okay, what vanilla does he have against his dad or something of that sort, because, like, that incident that happened, what led him to put his own father into the Gola Mosca, so on and so forth. So Squalo is deliberately hiding information. He's saying that, like, in his head, he's saying, I'm going to take the rest of the information to his grave. This leads to showing us a flashback of the incident. So at this point in time, it's showing a much younger Squalo who's injured, and he's hiding behind a pillar. And he's hearing the conversation behind him where both Zanzis and his dad, the Ninth, is going at it. At this point in time also, we have where a lot of people were being injured. And then, like, the Ninth, or, what's his name? Nono, right? He's sad that what he's about to do and affect Zanzis, he doesn't want to do it, but Zanzis pulled his hand. You know, Zanzis pushed him into this corner, and now the Ninth has no other choice but to basically take out his own son, because the reason why he doesn't even want to so much, technically, Zanzis was kind of saved in that moment from actually dying due to Imitsu, Suna's father. Suna's father told the Ninth to not kill Zanzis, hence why the Ninth froze him instead, right? So just before Zanzis can actually attack him, he was saying something and Squalo heard. Of course, we don't know what that dialogue was between Zanzis that he was yelling at his dad at the Ninth, but Squalo is the only one who knows what Zanzis said. And then that led to, before Zanzis can really charge at the Ninth and do whatever he could, the Ninth froze him from there. And then all you see in the panels is like screaming in the background, what the heck is this technique and everything. And Squalo, from then up until this point into the series, has been carrying it with him. And he feels guilt. He feels guilt that, one, he could not protect Zanzis from him being frozen. And mind you, Zanzis was frozen for X amount of time, like not even for a short period. I think the way they were describing in this chapter fully, he was frozen for years. He was frozen for years. And how he got out, if it's your first time reading or your first time watching this series, I don't think any of you were expecting this for how he was able to get out the first time. And how he got out the first time is how he will get out the second time. So Squalo is screaming that, like, yo, you gotta let me go. I need to get out of here. I need to go. But the surveiller is saying that, like, you know, victory has not been announced, so we have to meet the conditions of the victor, aka Suna. Due to Suna being totally exhausted, he can't move because of, you know, he just used up every ounce of strength that he had to fight against Zanzis. This is where now Lusaria and Levy now come onto the scene. Remember, all the other guardians have poison in them, and these two look like they're in tip-top shape. Come to find out, they are illusions casted by Mammon, and Suna managed to realize that. This is where now it's kind of screwed up, because it's just like, dang, Suna went through all of this. Everybody went through all of this, and it's now thrown into their face. So we see where Mammon was able to retrieve all other 6 rings, because remember the whole fight at the gymnasium with him, Belgafor, Yamamoto, Chrome, and Gokudera. Chrome still had poison in her body, and they managed to get the rings because they strangled Gokudera's hand, and they managed to get 3 of the rings that Gokudera was having. So now in total they have all the other 6 guardian rings. So this is where Mammon is now explaining that, like, Zanzis will be revived, and I'm going to show you how. So he demonstrates these 6 Vongola rings for all guardians, right? And then he's like, there was a point in time when Zanzis used to be frozen, and the place that he was unfrozen from, there was 6 flame marks left in that area. And each one of them can be identified, linking back to the rings, because the rings have special priorities towards them, special abilities towards them. So by doing so, he's showing that like the rings can emit as well dying will flames. This causes Suna's ring, the sky ring, to emit the harmony flames. And while he's realizing this, we have where Belgafor was able to snatch the sky ring from Suna's hand. Mind you, Suna can't really do nothing because this guy is literally exhausted from the entire fight. He can barely move a muscle or two. So then he gives the ring to Mammon, and Mammon is going over to Zanzis, and now he's melting the ice. Like I said, the ice could not be melted by any other conventional means that we know how to melt ice. In particular, he needs all 7 rings in order to melt the ice that was created by the 0-point breakthrough technique. That's how he was able. And the thing is, they don't know who originally freed Zanzis from his ice cage. Nobody knows. But whoever did it, well, yeah. And now this is why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Because Zanzis now has a vendetta, and he did everything that he did to the 9th and is doing to Suna currently right now. So they never mentioned who, even further chapters later down, they never mentioned who helped Zanzis to escape. Who was the one that was able to gather all the rings in the first place? Because mind you, the 9th is still in power, so he has his version of the sky ring. Who managed to gather all of them in order to free Zanzis? That question has yet to be answered. But Mammon was able to free Zanzis, and he's stating that with the full set of 7 Von Gold rings passed on to the successor, the rings, once all possessed by the new head, will grant the new boss unbelievable amounts of power. So what he does now is he puts the ring on Zanzis' index finger, because Zanzis is now free from the ice. And Zanzis is like, yo, go give me the rings. But it's a little too late for the rest of Suna's group to come, because they're now rushing in and they can't really do nothing. And this is where Belgafor now, he has the ring, and he's like, looks like everyone is here in their dog, and you're here now to witness the new boss of the Vongola. So he puts on the ring, knowing that it's going to grant him tremendous power. Puts the ring on his finger, then it starts to glow. It starts to glow, and Zanzis immediately is starting to feel the power surging within his body, surging through his veins and his blood. You know, it's like, it feels like He-Man is like, I feel the power type stuff. That's how it's feeling in that moment. And Zanzis is just thrilled by this. He's feeling the limitless power of the Vongola flowing through his veins. And once the ring accepts you, that tells you you are the now official successor of the Vongola. But there is a twist. There is a twist. As Zanzis is reveling through this high right now from the power he's getting from the rings, thinking he is now being accepted, the man starts to spit up massive amounts of blood. Like, blood is coming off all over his body. Comes to find out, the ring rejected him. The ring is not accepting Zanzis at all as the true successor. His blood was rejected. And that's how the chapter ends. Now, I know this, for some of you, they may need a little bit more understanding, but you have to understand, I think they did mention it early on, that one has to be born with the Vongola blood. And this is probably more tied into direct lineage and ancestry in order to be accepted. Remember, go back all the way to chapter 1 and say that Suna, who was last on the list, this was before they even considered the Kyoka Land arc and the Varia arc, but Suna from chapter 1, the other 3 that was candidates were all taken out. Suna, and they showed the family tree. They had the first Vongola boss, and then Suna is the descendant of the first. Hence why he was considered a candidate. On top of that, Suna's own father put him as a candidate as well, saying, yeah, I want my son to be part of the Vongola. I think he is fit to become the successor of this organization, this family. And it's due to his lineage. So that tells you, in other words, Zanzis may not have the lineage that he always thought he had. And something, and this may lead to back to that fight and that coup d'etat that he had, the Cradle incident 8 years prior to the current storyline, that whatever the Knight was not telling Zanzis, this caused him to do the things he did. Now, it can't be too sure, but like, if this is the case, then, and this is the reason why he's fighting his father, then it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And the Knight was not being very honest. Does that mean he should have been put into Golomosuke and his life energy be used up? No. Should it have caused a coup d'etat? Also no. But given Zanzis' personality has not changed much from the Cradle incident until this point, there was not much you can reason with a type of individual like Zanzis, okay? But yeah, he was rejected. And we'll see in the next chapter the reasons why as to why he was rejected. His blood was rejected, and why he can't become the successor. In other words, like they stated in the chapter, Suna won. Okay, end of story. So guys, do tell me in the comments below and how you feel about Katekyo Hitman Reborn chapter 133. If it is your first time reading and or watching, please do tell me how you felt about this chapter. What could this mean for Zanzis? Why was his blood in particular being rejected? What was the Knight hiding? What does this mean for Suna? Okay, and what more can we know from the Cradle incident that happened several years prior? If you are someone who has already read and or watched the anime, of course, no spoilers, but if you are revisiting back, how you feel about this chapter and what were some things that you may have missed initially the first time you read it and or watched it, and what do you realize within this chapter? The links are in the description box. You guys go check that out. And I'm Kimi-chan, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.